podcast. We're joined here by myself, Edmund, Vance, Lux, and of course, Strides, who is filling in for Cedric, who is
Yo,
sick, nasty on this day. So, we won't put him
Those
on blast
those
and say
those
where he's
those are
actually
lies,
at.
man. This man is a wolf in sheep's clothing, man, out there in Star Wars land. He's out there,
Damn.
man. He paid good.
Really
He
just
paid he
I don't
paid
know,
he
bro.
paid good money to go out there and say he's a Star Wars fan. Well, I will call him out and say he's a liar. He does not know the Star Wars lore more than me, and he's probably he's probably out there in a 3-hour line waiting to get into the Millennium Falcon. I hope that line is 3 hours, Sedge. I hope it is.
dang.
Dang. Well, I mean, it sounds like Vance is outraged, which is
I wish I
kinda
coulda
like what
gone.
we're about to talk about is the online outrage that occurs in platforms such as Twitch chat and Twitter. Whose idea was it to talk about this?
It would have been mine, but it was definitely a tweet I saw a long while back. From Team Spooky, and they actually,
Okay.
if you guys don't know who Team Spooky is, they're pretty popular team. Follow them on their Twitch channel. They do like a lot of like Mortal Kombat 11. If you guys like are interested in watching players like Sonic Fox on sometimes every now and then one of their locals, Team Spooky is definitely one of them. But they did put out a tweet in which D1 tweeted out about, and it was kind of really interesting. It spoke to me on a different level because they talked about the toxicity of the Twitch chat, and I'm not gonna lie, it's something that happens every major, every tournament, and it's something that affects our game specifically, really horrible because honestly, it's something that happens and can't be stopped in every game, but it happens really like frequent in ours. So here's the tweet, which you guys can see here. You guys can't see, but actually, I'll bring it onto bring it on to me. There we are. There we go. So it says Smash Chat's so much negative energy, hating on the characters, hating on the players, hate for the tourney itself. Your negativity can be infectious. How about some positive energy for your Smash love? And it's true. And this happens all the time. Like the Twitch chat is super active on when they see players they don't like, when they see characters they don't like, when they see production quality go wrong. It seems like they are a mob just catered to like, oh, but the buzz so boring, lol. Like, I mean, I don't want to speak Twitch chat, but you guys have pretty much heard it about at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of us, especially the four of us as commentators, have experienced just how toxic Twitch chat can be.
I have no idea what
It's
you're talking about.
it's not just when like people are watching players they don't like. In fact, people don't even care about that. I feel like most of the time it's like they'll talk so much negativity to someone just because they have no idea like who they are. Like if they're not a known personality, then they're gonna be in the Twitch chat saying like, "Oh, look at this scrub Marth," even though this like
Yeah.
Marth could be like actually pretty decent, but he's just like getting beat up by top player Larry. Like, and for our end as commentators, as people who are really starting to get our names out there, and especially when we
Not me, bro.
first started to get into commentary, like we would very often hear in Twitch chat like, like, oh, this commentary, like, blah, this commentary is bad. If you're not D1 or KTAR or TK or EE or one of those guys, like the Twitch chat is just gonna immediately tune you out and be like, where's D1? Where's
Yeah.
EE? Like, who's this guy? I don't like him, even though
Yeah.
like you're actually the content of what you're saying is great. But it's I attribute the toxicity of Twitch chat in that sense to be something of a mindless horde. It's definitely hive mind thinking, and it's just the effect of being able to type behind a screen on a keyboard. It's being a keyboard warrior at its finest. Like these people are sitting at home. They have no real social skills. I'm calling you out, Twitch chat. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All 32 of you watching right now. But
I I'm glad that you mentioned the anonymity part because I just had a kind of a light bulb click in my head because as we've kind of discussed, my role on the team is being the resident old man, and I'm just kind of thinking like back in my day it was not this bad, kind of a situation, and I think a lot of that kind of revolved around the fact that back in the Brawl day, I could go to a tournament and if it's a 60 100 person tournament, which would be a huge tournament for the game at that point in time, I would know 90% of the people there, and everybody would know 90% of the people there just by how centralized Smashboards was and how much that was a central facet to the way the community operated. And it wasn't until the blow up of Smash 4 that it went from the I think vocal minority of trolls in the community growing into like just this giant cesspool of toxicity that has that kind of hit this tipping point that makes it so it sustains itself, where if one person is toxic and then the next person's toxic and then blood's in the water and the whole entire Twitch chat is toxic, then you're like, man, now you got to get off the microphone pretty quick here. So I think a lot of that has to do is because of the size and scope that the community has achieved. There's 13, 14, 15, how many million people that have bought Smash Ultimate that you figure probably tune into a Twitch, stream here or there.
Yeah.
They're a keyboard warrior because no one knows who they are, and if they showed up to a tournament and started talking that talk, it would not go well very. It would not go
Yeah,
over very well
and
for
it's
them.
true.
I'm sure.
It's like yelling it's like yelling at a well. Basically, like you can yell at a well, no one's gonna hear you, and the only person you hear is yourself, and then you can be a troll. All right, hold up, real quick. I'm gonna let Strides talk. I want to know his opinion here, man, because this man has been
Oh.
dead silent.
I was gonna say
uh,
the same.
yeah.
Yeah, come on,
Well,
dude. You know about toxic online the most here, dude. Cause you go online, you get on that Elite Smash, and you got people
yeah,
in your fucking mentions, your
yeah,
DMs. Tell us about that.
yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like a lot of it is hard to prevent. I feel like there should be a lot better mods in Twitch chat, honestly. 'Cause that would actually help a lot. I feel
That's a
like
great
a
point.
lot of Twitch chat actually doesn't really have good moderation team. But there should actually be a solid team of mods so that people just can't say whatever the hell they want
Hmm.
and like there's no real consequences.
I
But
mean,
yeah, that's just like a nature of the internet, especially these days. Like people will say a lot of just really mean things just because they're anonymous and like nothing's gonna happen. Like kind of like Lux like said, no one knows you. So like before, if you like say things like that, you like you will get blown up because you'll see that guy like the next week or whatever, you know. So you were careful about what you say. But nowadays, it's like a bunch of people that don't really go to tournaments or like they're just no one really knows who they are, so like they don't really care about what they say. And I think a lot of that could just be prevented, like I said, just having better mods in the Twitch chat. Otherwise, like it's just crazy if people say whatever.
For
You know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Moderation. I'm really glad that you brought up moderation because, there's a couple ways that you could go about it. You could have chat who are constantly scanning through what's being said, actively scanning through what's being said, and
mm,
actually like removing messages, like handing out timeouts and bans. Or I mean, you could go the extreme route, which is to like go sub only mode, right?
yeah,
And so that the only the people who are sub to the channel can actually chat, or like go to the extremes that like I think it's like the Pokemon Company or something that does it. I don't remember, but there I've seen chats that just or I've seen streams that just have the chat disabled. In which
yeah,
case it's
yeah,
like people are still going to be watching, but I don't know, like maybe a little bit less retention potentially. However, the issue with the moderation thing is that as it stands right now, like for example, I mean, you can see in the 2GG chat right now that I have a sword by my name. Like, how often do you think I'm actually in the Twitch chat, first of all? And even when I'm in the Twitch chat, like I'm not actually like I'm not like, oh my god, this is my job. Like I gotta make sure everyone's behaving here. Like, granted, I if I do see something like wrong, I'll remove it or whatever. But but it's not actually my job, which makes me believe that in order to have proper moderation like that, you're gonna need to actually hire a team of people.
Yeah.
Like hire 3 to 5 people who are actually going to be paid hourly or however to moderate the chat. They have like an incentive to actually do the job and do the job correctly? Because as it stands, like there's tons of mods in every chat, but they're all just the homies. It's not really like they didn't get the privilege of being a moderator because they were like good at moderating. They just happen to be there and they know the streamer,
Yeah.
kind of deal.
And that's usually when we talk about the bigger scope of like Twitch chat in general, like Twitch chat has been also itself as a whole is also toxic. Like Smash Twitch chat is pretty toxic. Like that's something we can all agree on. That's not what our topic is, but like Twitch chat in general being toxic. Oh my god, you wouldn't believe the things I've seen. Like when I'm watching Overwatch, when I'm watching any other game, like it can get pretty bad. But that's the thing. Like, I'm curious to see going further into esports. Like, there are two extremes. One of them less extreme than the other. Like you said, will Twitch chat end up being like? Oh my God! Hold up. Yeah, someone is singing. I have no idea who is singing. I am sorry. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Is that at your house?
Is the I'm podcasting mom moment of the stream.
Mom, I'm doing a podcast. Last time we did this episode, we were in the middle of talking, and Vance walks in, Vance's mom walks into his room, and he's just like at the top of his lungs, like, "Mom, I'm doing a podcast."
All right.
Oh my god.
So to be fair, my roommate is watching Pride and Prejudice. So I'm like, okay, hold up, like what's going on? And then my roommate is watching.
Wait, we had a fourth that we could have had on instead of Sedge's picture. Damn.
Man, you think my roommate wants to talk about Smash? The only thing she talks to you about is Disney.
Yeah, we had a topic in our back burner though of the Disney Princess fighting game, but that's besides the point. All right, so far that we've been talking about all the topics, right? It's been kind of the obvious answer is more mods in the chat, and let's say the number of Twitch trolls now outnumber the outnumber the mods to the level that it's probably not feasible, to moderate this amount of content, especially in real time for a live stream, event. It's just on some level, resources are finite, right? We're not going to be able to hire a team of 100 moderators to knock out this chat, kind of a deal. One of the things that I'd ask that we consider is maybe some of that culture and change needs to come bottom up. That I think there's been kind of a shift, especially in our top players, and kind of putting them on blast a little bit, that their mentality on the game has kind of changed in so much as before, back in the Brawl early days, it was uncool and you're kind of a bad player for complaining about a character Meta Knight, kind of a deal. And nowadays you have every top player on Twitter, if they lose a match, all of a sudden they're lighting up that that character's overpowered or needs to be nerfed, and
they all suck.
But everyone hates every Orlimar player in the game.
Yeah,
they all suck. It's you know what? Things haven't changed. They still suck. It's just normalized behavior now. It's normalized behavior that these top players go out there and say what they want, and it's bad too, because maybe I'm going off tangent, but a top player will say something like that, and then actually it's not off topic. Because a top player will say something like that, as you just said, and that gives agency to all the scrubs out there who don't go to tournaments, who actually don't know how to play the game. They feel justified, right? Like they're like, see, I knew I wasn't bad at the game. Tweak said that character's broken. Obviously, I'm not trash. Yeah. Everyone's carried.
Yeah. It's like I want to pass back to Strides in a minute because I gotta let my boy talk. But like, it is one of those deals where like when Mars lost to MKLeo, like the first thing he said was like, Joker sucks the life out of this game. I was like, hold up, Mars, like you can't really say that because MKLeo is MKLeo. When he was maining Ike, dude, people were out there saying like Ike might be top 8, top 10, top 5 best character in the game. And then MKLeo said, when I stop maining this character will drop like a fly. Bet. And it happened. It happened. He stopped maining Ike. Ike dropped like a fly. He stopped maining Lucina. Nobody else is really out there getting top 8s with Lucina much. You know, he's maining Joker. Joker is, you know, getting top 8. The one Joker main. You know, maybe him and Schroeder because I know Schroeder uses the character. So that's the thing. Like, it isn't like if you complain about the character, it is. I think that's why sometimes the FGC as a whole sees us as the little brother of the community because they go, you know, here's all the players in Capcom and Tekken, and they talk about characters and like, okay, this is broken, and then they learn the character, and they're like, oh, there's a counter pick, oh, there's this, there's that. Meanwhile, in Smash, dude, like. Mars can lose a match, or someone, you know, not just anybody, I don't want to put him on blast, but like somebody can lose a match, go on Twitter and say like, oh, this character's broken, this character sets out of the game. They get 1,000 retweets, 1,000 likes, and then it starts like this whole hive mind of like, oh yeah, the character's broken, I wasn't wrong, you know. Of course he is. Like, look, even this top player who's like obviously in almost PGR, he agrees with me. Like, he speaks to me, the little man. And I think that's what you're saying, Adam. Like, all the scrubs. And even, not even just scrubs, bro. Like, O2, 2 Warriors. Like, I'm a 3-2 warrior, by the way. I like all these other like people. They just start like getting like, oh, you're a 2-2 warrior. You're a 2-2 warrior. You're a 2-2 warrior. Oh, we all agree. You know what, dude? Joker's broken. Guess who said it, man? Larry said it. Larry agrees with us all. Let's get lit. We were right, man. We were so right. But the reality is like, no, it's the player skill that defines the character. That's what I believe, at least in my opinion, and that's what MKLeo does for Joker. But yeah, that's my comment. I'm curious to see what Strides believe in the whole Twitch chat toxicity.
Yeah. Well, about that, yeah, I agree that top players have more influence than they realize on a lot of these things. Like, if they just say things like are inflammatory and it's like in the moment without really thinking about it, it just causes people to just look at them like, oh yeah, must be the truth because they said it, even though it's just, you know, their opinion and they're just angry in the moment. Like, yeah, I remember that Mars tweet. I was just like, damn, dude, like, Joker hasn't even been out that long. What happened? Like, how did he like play Joker this much to form this opinion? Honestly, but yeah, I think top players also have to be a little bit more responsible with what they say on Twitter too, just because again they have a lot of influence over these people, and a lot of people too that follow these top players are like also really young as well. So they gotta be careful with that. That's my opinion on it anyway.
How much do we think the fact that Nintendo patches the game might feed into that people feel like if they complain vocally and loud enough on Twitter,
yeah, that's also true.
People think Nintendo will come in and save them.
That's a huge factor.
That's also a big factor too. Even though we don't have no idea if that's actually true or not, like if they even care about what people say on Twitter, like, or how much they even look at tournament like results when it comes to these things.
Yeah, there's no confirmation.
Yeah, I think this last patch was like a pretty good like sign of things that like, yeah, we understand. In my opinion, there's a few, like, there's like one more thing I think they should nerf about Wolf, but that's just my opinion.
Alright, you want to get into it? Wolf?
I mean, hold on.
I toxic in the air.
No, I do think the character's fine. I did tell people originally, like, I'm not gonna lie, and even still to this day, I don't think the character's that broken. He's a little bit of a glass cannon.
He's not broken.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, down smash was. That's the thing. I didn't think. I said Wolf as a whole, not that broken. Down smash, yes, for sure. I do think it's a little ridiculous that he can like spot dodge forward smash and it feels pretty safe on the shield. That's a little ridiculous. But as a whole, I don't think the character's that bad. But I do think patch 3.1.0 like does show that Nintendo was listening to like, oh, this character doesn't seem to be working properly. You know, like people are complaining that this character sucks now, or this character is a shade of its former self, you know, and we should probably buff this character. And that's why, or this character is a little bit too ridiculous and a little bit too easy to just pick up and, you know, do ridiculous things with damage. We need to nerf Orlimar and Pichu and fix a little bit of Peach and maybe start adding life to characters that for some reason they needed this buff because they just didn't exist without it. You know, I felt like that patch That's why people were so happy about the recent patch, is that it shows that Nintendo is kind of listening to us now. They're not listening to the extent like, okay, let's go ahead and nerf, this character to the ground, but they're listening to like the extent where they're like, oh, you know what, people are right. Ken doesn't work. He's just there. He just does things. Let's do something about Ken. Let's do something about the other Captain Falcon. Let's do something about Wolf's Down Smash one more time, or Olimar. How ridiculous he is in general. How Pichu is. They listen. So I think like that's for sure one thing that this patch definitely brought.
Sure. So
Is that a good thing though? Like, let me talk about the Olimar example. And because we know, as I hinted at, Olimar is probably one of the characters that gets the most, if not one of the most toxic things thrown at them. And the character obviously got nerfed in the last patch.
Mhm.
However, on a macro level, you would think that you can use nerfs and buffs to sorry, there's some like weird drum noise going on, but anyway, you can use nerfs or buffs to kind of influence the usage of the character. But by and large, not a lot of people use Olimar, and so you have the situation now with the nerfs. They pretty much are just going to kill the character because they're going to make it so that the few people that play the character don't want to play it anymore. And I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know if that's a good thing, and I don't know if that is the unintentional, unforeseen consequence of Nintendo listening only to the vocal Twitter toxicity
Sure.
when they're making their patch decisions. I guess just kind of play devil's advocate on that idea.
Yeah, I guess in a way, for starters, I can't really say that the fact that these changes were made confirms that Nintendo is listening. Like, this may just be changes that kind of they already had in mind, or based off the results that of offline, as Nintendo said they were going to base their patches off of. And it just happens.
Online.
Right, I said online.
I heard offline.
Yeah, but the point being that these these changes might just align with generally what the community like has been vocalizing. And to what you were saying, Lux, like if Olimar were to fall out of existence because of these nerfs, I think it may. Is it fair? No, because it's like you said, like there's only a few players who are actually playing them to the caliber that they are. And so even like now the lower tier players who were playing Olimar are going to suffer even more. Like those people are definitely going to have to switch off of their character if they want to actually like have success, or they're just going to have to try harder. But I mean, if you're at a low level, that's going to be really difficult. But because the character is so widely hated, even just like prior to him being good, like no one liked Olimar in Smash 4, right? Like he wasn't the best character in Smash 4, and even then people didn't like him. So it's kind of like if he fell out of existence, I think people would it would be like, well, it sure is a shame. Oh well, like
Gee, I wonder where I'm hip is right now.
yeah, pretty much.
We're talking about. I was talking a little bit of the top-down thing, and let me make one point, and then let's work on wrapping up.
Yeah.
We were talking about Nintendo and them listening, and that's kind of one of the things that scares me the most about the general toxicity between Twitch and Twitter. Nintendo, I'm sure, is seeing the esports boom, and they have already demonstrated that they want to get into it on some level, but I think what might be holding them back a little bit, probably just from a brand risk assessment situation. No matter how Nintendo tries to get into this community, they are going to be hit hard by the toxicity that exists just by virtue of them being at the top. It's not going to be as good as their as the grassroots event or something like that, or
Right.
it's Nintendo trying to cash grab on the community. Whatever, they're going to run into some crazy mental gymnastics on Nintendo, not being the villain somehow, despite them being the Lord Almighty creator of the game that we play. But that's something I think people might want to kind of keep in the back of their head, that sometimes the words that we have unintended consequences. And if you ask if we could find the words to shake the earth, should we say them? I'd say maybe the earth should not be shaken.
Damn, that's one way to wrap up that topic.
That's definitely one way to wrap up that topic. And I have a question before we move on to our slides, our little commercial break. Vance, I have a question specifically for you. Are you saying that because I play Wolf that I'm carried?
No.
No.
All right. I disagree.
Once we come back from our commercial break, we're gonna go ahead and talk about why Vance thinks I'm carried by Wolf. But don't go too far.
I don't think. Okay, for the record, before we dip, I don't think. I don't think
we could talk about it afterwards. We can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
All right.